minutes to talk about something. We have a little bit of time for some Q&A after that. But kind of let's spend a minute to kind of help people interact with us. So what I want to do is give you some coaching on how to use this Zoom thing. And what I'd like you to do, down at the bottom of your screen, if those who are there and can see me, down at the bottom of the screen, you put your cursor, you see there's something called participants and chat, share screen. There's something looks like a smiley face with a plus sign. It says reactions. What I'd like you to do right now is click that and click a thumbs up if you can see a thumbs up. Let me see if I can, 1, 2, 3, 4, a few of them. Are you there? Tony, Christina, Shirley, I need some more thumbs. People still in there? At any time, for all the people who are speaking, you click a thumb, or the other one is a clap. You know, that's the equivalent of doing this. A nice job. A way to have kind of a technological click in between. So what this is a workshop. So I'd like you to feel, to the extent you can, you know, provide some feedback. We want some feedback. And in fact, for my part, I'm going to ask you to respond to something toward the end to see if this made you think about something a little bit differently. And so to help we get into that, I want to make sure everybody has their chat box open. Can everybody, if you have a chat box and you can see it, would you do me a favor and type in the number 1 in there, like that? A bunch of ones in there. Can you see? Okay. All right. I see a bunch of them. So most of them are there. All right. So at the end, good. We got some good feedback there. People are using the technology. I'm going to keep this open. You can do a couple things. You notice that you can send questions to everyone. If you look down, you can click that next to the everyone. You can select that. You notice there's a bunch of other people. You can send private messages to each other, and the teacher is not going to know about it. And Samuel's a teacher. The rest of us are just a substitute. So you're welcome to do that. I encourage you to participate, and I want you to be part of this workshop. And so I'm going to talk for 10 or 12 minutes, and hopefully people are still awake, and we might have some Q&A after the end of that 10 or 12 minutes. So, and what I'd like at the end of that is to, again, type a number 1 is when I'm done. You think, you know, Brian, that's good. I hadn't thought of it that way before. That's something new. Or put in a 0 if, nah, I didn't get much out of that. Because we all want some constructive feedback. So how about everybody put in a 2 if you kind of got it. You understand what I'm talking about? Do we have any 2s here? All right, got a bunch of, all right, that's enough to work with. So I'm now going to share my screen, and I'm not going to bore you to death with PowerPoint. I'm going to use a couple things to kind of flow through, because my only objective is to get you to think about something a little bit differently. So as I share screen, can everybody see my ugly mug right there in a green square? Looks pretty good, so we'll skip right past that. I am not going to talk about that. First, I'm going to talk about me. And I'm not shy about that, but I'm very proud about that, and this is why. These are my peeps. This is my story. I want you to feel connected to me. This is an old picture. It's a scruffy picture, and my Arlington family is probably going to cuss at me because, come on, Papa, couldn't you get a better picture? But I love it because it's an old picture, and we weren't quite ready for it. And look how cute is my granddaughter. Oh, my gosh. So that's also my wife, my bonus daughter. Proud of them. That's part of the organic thing we do, the organic connecting. I'm going to refer back to that. And I'll probably get some grief for putting that picture because I didn't ask for their permission. But you know, I wanted to share some personal connection anyway, and that has some meaning in what we're going to talk about later on. A little bit more. My why. Why do I do what I do? And we're not going to talk about what I do for a living, but I want to give you a little bit of point of reference so that has some context as we go on, and tie that into what Chris and Ashton in Australia are going to say later, and even Tony. So I have done other things in the past, but my why starts with where I was born. I was born in Hawaii, but then my first memories of life were in the British West Indies. And I was one of the few kids that maybe the only kid I knew that looked like me. So I was used to being different. And again, I'm going to come back to this concept. And then we moved around. I was so lucky that Dad was a Navy officer, and we moved like every year. And in the second grade, I learned a new term, civilian, because I thought everybody's dad was in the Navy and everybody changed houses every year. But anyway, this is pertinent to my why and what I'm doing now, and even some of why I'm on this conversation. But Now, later in life, I changed careers. I became a financial advisor because I want to hear people's stories. And also because I realized, man, you go to different parts of the world or different parts of the country, and not everybody's got the same attitude about each other and so on. So, and I found there's some people tend to be, they haven't traveled, their dad wasn't in the Navy, they haven't been exposed to different stuff. They know what they know, and they're not interested in whatever else there is. So as a financial advisor, and especially in this age, I get to be patient, and I have the luxury that I can wonder what's it like to be that person and help them. I'm not a young person who's got to sell a lot of stuff. I want to cultivate connections, and that's what I like to do. As my wife can tell you, I'm annoyingly curious. I'm proud of that title and that term, and you can probably hear her eyes rolling right now as I'm saying this, but that also satisfies. By the way, she is on the call, as is, I think, my grandkids and my son, and so there's some, watch your language, okay? Anyway, it satisfies that I really get to plug into people and what is their deal and why do they do that, and whatever. I love to do that, and I get to make a living doing that, and I get to decide who I work with. I'm not an employee. I have my practice, and I'm loving it. So I wanted to give you some context about why is Brian even talking here, and I guess to finish the why is I'll later, if anybody wants to talk to me later, and I would love to talk to people later, but when I met Samuel, there was some other dynamics going on there that I was intrigued with, and we just started talking and having coffee, and yeah, hermano, okay, let's go. So let's go make things happen. And I was really respecting what he was doing, and I'm proud to help him. So that's some of why is Brian talking. That gives you a little bit of context, but not too much. So, all right. Remember, my topic was fear and curiosity in decision making. Huh? It seemed like an odd title, right? That's kind of the point. Like I wanted people to wonder about that. But remember when I said that I was born in the islands and then later lived in the West Indies and moved all around. And I discovered at a pretty early age, I feel like it was in the 4th grade. We happened to live in Rhode Island at the time when Dad was going to the War College. And by the way, my mom's on the line, so she might correct some of my recollections here. So anyway, I started to realize in the 4th grade that people in Rhode Island have a different, attitude than people in Albuquerque or San Diego or Hawaii. I moved a lot, and I started to kind of feel some enlightenment happening. And later on, that piled on to the point that not everybody knows anybody in the Navy or kids in the Navy. They never, not only did they not know, but they didn't wonder. This comes back to that curiosity thing. And later on in life, I got started doing financial kinds of things. I mean, in the last few years, I really started to see how much fear drives the decisions that people make. And it kind of surprised me that people are, I asked the question in kind of a scholastic way. What are you afraid of? What are your fears? What are your goals in life? And part of my financial planning, but it's just at a human level. What's going on, and how come people are so fearful and they're not as curious? They don't wonder. They're maybe not apt to go up to Samuel and ask questions, for instance. In fact, here's one more kind of an opportunity for some feedback from you guys. True or false, and put a T or F in your chat. People, in your experience, people asking you questions is not very common. True or false? People often ask, that's a more simple way to put it. True or false, do people often ask you questions, or do they just want to talk? Let me check the chat. Are we seeing this here? Okay, more people are chiming in here. Anyway, that's just kind of a thought, and that's some of what I've observed. And this does turn back onto Samuel's message of deliberately promoting and inviting inclusivity, not just because it's the good thing to do. There's business and money to be made when you broaden your horizons and your scope and your influence and your friends, your family. So, but first, let's talk about fear. And what I would like you guys to do, I'm going to unshare for a second, because what I would like to have people in 1 or 2 words. I'd like you to type in, what's an example of something you're fearful of in life? And I have a couple examples later, but I'm kind of curious. So just go in and type, what's something I'm afraid of? No wrong answers. Hi, Jane. Disappointment, failing, inactivity, rejection, growing. So everybody can see what I can see. These are growing old alone. Surely. That's heavy. That's deep. Rejection. Well, oh, yeah. Okay. We see some, there's some of those are not a surprise. All right. Thank you for everybody for that. Not being successful in life as I want. Oh, that's another deep one. So these are the things that I'm curious about in humans. When I meet people, I wonder what's driving them, and often fear is something they can identify with right away. Goals are maybe goes a little bit different direction, but I want to kind of push through some things and show you something. I'm going to share again. Oh, I can't, don't do that. I almost left the meeting. That would have been bad. All right. I'm getting a message that I'm running long. It's not surprising. So I'll scoot through this so we can get through things. So Teddy Roosevelt said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I remember that vividly because I was watching his inauguration on TV, and I remember when he said that. No, I want to see if anybody's paying attention. No. I watched it on the radio. I'm kidding. No, it was 1933. It wasn't me. So anyway, fear is the only thing we have to fear. I beg to differ, because I'm scared of sharks, man. And yes, I said scared. There's some things that are organic and what we have fearful, and how we just, our brains are wired to be fearful. That's our lizard brain that causes us to, we think about food not being food and making baby lizards. That's also what has us afraid of sharks. But I want people to think about the more evolved way of fear, and that is, I'm going to skip ahead, otherness. And this is really the essence of what comes back to the biz diversity thing. I have found, it's been my experience, that people, they don't know anybody that's not like them. Not uncommon to be in a room full of people and what a homogenous group here. That's kind of interesting. That doesn't look like this, what's out in the street. Why is that? That's the kind of the thing that Samuel's organization and me and my friends are always thumping on. When you start to expand your tribe and your people and your influence and your input from people who are not like you, you become a more robust tribe, a more skilled and more valuable organization. And that's why that kind of thing just dovetails in with what Biz Diversity does, bizdiversity.net does. And what I like to do, because I want to have my peeps, I'm going to have all kinds of skills. I want to have all kind of cultural examples and age groups. I want a lot of otherness in my sphere. And that's what I'm recommending. As I'm going pretty long, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm recommending that people be deliberate in how they go invite and find that. And that is by listening to people, asking questions, going up and approaching. And as my wife will say, shut up when you ask a question. Let them respond. For 5 seconds. It's hard to get 5 seconds of silence. Let people respond and really listen intuitively to connect, because that's the goal. If we have real, authentic connections with people, and you start to open your mind to perspectives that are a little different than yours, maybe you'll get some new perspective and new enlightenment, and that curiosity can be cultivated, and you become a better team, a better organization, more profitable, as Samuel evangelizes to all of us. I'm going to pause because I realize I could talk too long, I realize, and I want to hear from other people, and other people want to talk. To that point, I'm going to skip through. Samuel, are you or Tony moderating?
Yes, thank you, Brian.
Let me punch through the very end here. I'm going to get through a couple things. Just the last. I love this Einstein quote: "No special talents. I'm only passionately curious." And we all can be curious and listen to each other. And I'd love to talk some more about it. As you can tell, 10, 15, 20 minutes wasn't quite enough. But let's let Tony and Samuel take over and go from here.
Right on, Brian. I appreciate you. Thank you for that deliverance of the information.